Hey everyone, welcome to Mongrels Garage. In today's video, we are going to tackle a common problem on these Jeep Grand Cherokees, and that has to do with your heater blend doors. How do you know you got a problem with this? Because when you've asked for cold air and it blows nothing but hot on one side, you got a problem with this. We're going to cover what causes it, how to prevent it, and how to fix it. Now that I've broken this video into two parts, the first part's pretty simple and it can be done with everything still in the vehicle. You just gotta get a little bit of access. The second part is for the not so faint of heart. If you don't like doing interior work and you don't like wiring connectors and modules, you might want to skip this part and have someone else do it for you. But we're gonna go through it anyways in case you're brave enough. All right, let's get into doing this, and we're going to start with how to prevent this and what causes it.
You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me.
Once we get the glove box out and the glove box liner in, we'll be able to get up in here. And there's also this guy underneath that we can pull out, so little stick pins in there. But we'll be able to see our heater ducts and our actuators, no problem. You'll see that later on in the video. You can see in there pretty good once all this is out. Okay, we're gonna have to undo all this wiring for our heater and our actuators. This is our complete HVAC unit from the Jeep. Here are some of the common components. Here's your blower motor right here. This is where your cabin air filter hides. It's right in here. See if we can get that off. There you go. You can see it. You can also kind of see it down in here. Here's your resistor pack. There's your actuator for your recirc door, actuator for your defrost. There's your vent door. There's another actuator supposed to be here for your blend doors, which we'll get into that. That's a separate piece on here. Here's a thermostat down here, I believe. Around the back side, we can see some of our defrost doors. You can see our heater hoses here. You can see our AC stuff here. This slot here is where your heater core would sit. This is where another actuator would go right here. You can see one of the gears. So those are the basic components. Now, the blend door compartment comes off separate from the rest of it. There's a couple of screws that'll be in the back side here, and these little clips that you push those down, pop them out. There you go. Your heater core will be attached. You'll have to undo that. But in how we're going to do this, we're just going to slide this unit off. We're not going to undo those lines. But that gives you a breakdown of the basic HVAC unit. But this is the piece right here of your blend doors that we're concerned with. So we have the heater box apart, and we have this back piece off of it. And this is where your blend doors are. You can see the right-hand blend door, left-hand blend door.
I'm glad you're here to tell us these things.
And you can see the gear here that moves it. We've taken the actuator off. But we're going to show you the simple trick on how to fix this, because what happens, if things get hot, things get a little melty down there. And then the door travels too far and does that. And then it breaks the gear and it can't pull the door back. See? We're trying there. A little bit of finger pressure and we can. So if it's already done that, you might be in for a world of hurt, because you're going to have to take this out. It hasn't done that yet. Well, the simple trick is, and you can do this while it's still in the vehicle, we're going to look right there. You can see we got a little bit of space there. We're going to pop this gear out, just like that. We're going to drill it, and we're going to put a screw in there and make a stop.
It's not possible. I didn't say it would be easy.
So that it'll hit here and stop before this door does full travel, and won't allow this door to over travel anymore. And that will save you from having this problem in these Jeeps. You can see we've drilled our hole in our piece here. We put our screw there. And now this can only travel to that point. And then our screw hits there. And you can see you want to get it set so that that door is closing. And I can push really hard on that. And we're not going to over travel anymore. See? Our door closes right every time now.
Good for you, man. Good for you, good for you.
And that's it. No more over traveling problems on that blend door. Now we just got to get this installed. A little disclaimer before we get started here is this is a fairly involved and big job. So I'm not going to cover every connector and every bolt where it is. take your time, have a close look, make sure you get everything. You're pulling something off, it doesn't want to come, have a closer look at it. I'm going to try to cover the stuff that I think is easily missed or that I think needs a little extra attention, and for the most part I'll get most of this here, but there's going to be a couple things like I don't cover, like these felt pads underneath. They're just little stick pins that you just got to pop them out and push them back on. There are some lighting connectors on them too you gotta be careful about, but just take your time on this stuff, you should be fine. We are going to start over here on the passenger side, and we are going to open up the glove compartment just like that. Once you do that, you're going to squeeze in on the sides and let this fully fold down. See, once we squeeze in on the sides, we get these little tabs to come back, and that allows this door to hinge down even more. And once that's off, we can unhook this cable, and this glove box will just come off the hooks down here. We're left with this glove box liner. Okay, the glove box liner. Got a couple Torx bits in here. We've got our screws down here. Remember our little light here. Remember that connector. Also where your cabin air filter lives. You just pull this cover off and get to it. Ours is good, we're gonna leave it. In order to get these panels off here, we're gonna have to pull our seal back. Just pulls back like that, and then you can get your plastic pry tool in here and pop this panel off. Now, depending on what order these are in, you may want to take this sill plate off and then this kick panel off, but usually this sits on top, and there's actually a groove up here that slides into this A-pillar cover. So once that's off, we can get access to the bolts. So one of the things you're going to want to do when we start this job is we're going to take our trim panels off. You just take a plastic pry tool under here, pop it up. This will pull out, and you're going to take that kick panel off right there. The reason you want to do that is there's some connectors here that we're going to want to get at under these kick panels. So you got one up here and another panel up here too. So we're going to want to undo some of these connectors. So Mike, let's discuss how we're getting this piece up here.
I thought it was going to be really solid, but if you lift up the
glove box there,
yeah, then you can get into it from this corner, and once you have this up, the whole thing will pop. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Nice. We're going to have to get the shifter handle off.
Is that a twist, do you think?
I'll show you how to do that in a second.
Okay.
What you're going to do with the shifter, you're going to grab your tool and you're going to pry this plastic down, and then there's a little pin there. So in order to get this handle off, you got this little pin that sticks in the side of it here, and you're just going to pull that out. Grab onto the little tab there, pull it out, and then lift the handle straight up.
No way!
And it'll pull right off. Now we got some electrical connectors here. This is a little thumb. You can see it there.
What's that one for?
Just like that. This is for your four-wheel drive switch and all that. Right. This is your cup holder light. Again, a thumb thing, but I'm going to need both hands. Okay, I got the big white connector undone. We've got this, not sure what that is, connector undone. That's probably your power supply or a cigarette lighter or something like that. Or might go to the back, USB stuff. And then we're going to pull the plastic pins out and take this wiring away from the console. The other thing we're going to want to do is we're going to slide our center console back a bit. So we're going to take off the bolt here on both sides and these screws on both sides so that we can move things back. So just remember, you're going to have to leave some battery power on to move your seats around a little bit. And we're going to have to take these caps off at the back so we can get at these bolts to allow us to slide the console back. Now once you have these two big bolts out up here and the ones in the back of the console there, just wiggle it around a little bit and you should be able to pull it back. There you go. You get these big pins out of here. There's going to be some wiring that we're going to have to take with the dash, so we'll work on that too. Ridiculous! Here's the other console connector we want to undo. It's a little tight in here. There we go. Flip it off. You can see the little push tab right there. Push on that and we'll undo it. The next thing we want to do is we want to open this door right here. We're going to reach up in here and we're going to start pulling this radio faceplate off. And then once you get the bottom popped, we're going to start taking the plastic ones and popping it off. And we're not going to pull too hard because we want to make sure we're not yanking on any of the connectors or anything. We're going to lean the top of that radio bezel forward. You come in here and there's a thumb release under here. That's going to get this connector out. Just like that. And this one has a thumb release on the side, which I'm actually using my finger for. There we go. Okay, we're going to get the radio out next. We're going to take the 4 screws out of it and then undo the connectors at the back. Ours has this charging port. In order to get that off, you got to undo the connectors, pull this piece out, a couple 7mm screws, and we'll take that out, and that'll get our tray out. The reason we want this charging tray out is we have to get to these two nuts here eventually. One there, because those hold the dash in place. There's going to be some wiring that we're going to have to take with the dash, so we'll work on that too. So you can see with all the wiring connectors undone, that gave us enough room to pull back that far. Look in here, you can see it's nice and clear of the dash now. It should be okay. We left our shifter cable connected for now. Don't pull on that too hard, but we're good. Now, in order to remove this lower panel, you're going to have to undo your parking brake cable. There's a couple ways to do that. I just undid the clips here, pressed them in, pulled that out, and then there's a screw that goes in down here, and I think 3 others along the bottom. You're going to have to pull the steering wheel cover back. This is just a pop-in piece. You can see the tabs there, and then there's a screw right there, and you'll be able to get this panel off. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start going after the steering column. So we're going to get the shield off here, and then down in here there's a U-joint with a bolt in it that we're going to keep that all lined up. Be very careful with that. We're going to take that bolt out, and there's an electrical connector back up in here that we're going to have to undo. And then there's several bolts that we have to take out, which we'll get to when I get this panel off and stuff, and we'll show you where those are. Okay, now that we get the steel plate off, I can give you a little bit better look underneath here. So first thing is this U-joint. You can see the bolt. We've kind of marked it so we got an idea of where it should go back on. That's a Torx head bolt that we're going to be taking off. You can see I've loosened off one of the mounting bolts for the column right there. There's another one on the other side, and there's a couple up top here. There you go. There's one there. There can be one on this other side. So we're going to get all those out. I think it's just the 4. There might be another one. I can't remember, but I'll let you know if there is. So we'll get those 4 out, get the U-joint undone. We've already disconnected our connectors. One there. This guy goes here. So those come undone. This one tucks back up in there, like I said. And then that should allow us to get the steering column out. You can see after I get those 4 bolts down, I sat in here, I rested the column on my knees, and I let it come down slowly. Now we're just going to pull it out of the hole. You gotta be careful because there's some stuff like that guy there that we don't want to get jammed up on stuff. Also, be very careful not to rotate that too much once it comes off the splines, because there is the clock spring in there and we don't want to mess that up. Yeah, like I said, we want to be very careful not to turn this wheel too much with the clock spring. We got another connector we got to undo. Missed one.
You know what you are? You're a dipstick.
Okay, we have that connector undone. There we have it. Set this down. Okay, moving on. This instrument cluster has T20 Torx bits, 3 of them, 1 up top, 2 down below. Okay, something I like to do is I like to put the hardware back in where it came from. That way it's a lot easier to remember where it goes. Yeah. We unbolted our shifter assembly, just set it off to the side here. There's one connector you'll have to undo right there. That plugs into the back of the shifter assembly. Right there. Now the other thing you gotta do is we're gonna have to pull this back. You'll see that there's some wiring there that we're gonna have to undo this ground cable. We're gonna have to fish that wiring out right here. That's the next thing.
You serious?
Better look at all this wiring. So you got some grounds, some pins aside, some connectors. This should just slide in underneath here. This should be our airbag module, so do be careful. Make sure your battery's disconnected at that point. So let's start by getting these 3 grounds off. Alright, there we go. We got the big wiring harness undone. We did have to lift our module up here to take the cable out. There is an antenna cable here of some sort, GPS or something. This one's a little tricky, but if you get in there, you can kind of get in there and release it. That should be it. We should be ready to pull this dash out. It feels kind of funny sitting in the driver's seat, no instrument cluster, no steering wheel, but there you have it. So the next thing we're going to go after is these A-pillars. There is a lanyard in here, and that's for if these airbags blow up top, if you have them. Sometimes they don't have the airbags up here, some do, so there might be a lanyard attached to this. Now we've already pulled our seal back a bit. We're just going to pull it back some more. And these are just a clip-on deal. See, and we'll just get in here and we'll get the clips to let go. And there you can see that lanyard I was talking about right here. It's just a little tab that you can slide off. So with this plastic lanyard, you can see that little button there. You're going to want to depress it and then slide it that way. And just be careful of your duct down here. And then once you get it pulled out enough, it'll just lift out this way. And once you've done that, just lift the panel out. Simple as that. And we'll have to move this, get this duct unpinned and stuff when we go to take the dash out. Looking on the driver's side, there's this big white connector that you're going to undo that screw and pull it off, free up some of the electrical from the dash. Back on the passenger side, we can see that we got a couple other connectors here for the dash. This guy up here we'll have to undo. There's also this little antenna cable we're going to want to undo. For this antenna cable, you just kind of reach in behind here. There's a little tab there and you can get it undone. You can see the release for it right there. And then we got both these guys off. So we're doing good there. Get that one off. We'll get that guy off. Now we're getting really close to taking this dash out. Okay, we're going to have to undo all this wiring for our heater and our actuators because it is attached to the dash. So let's get to doing that. Now let's go through the attach points. Starting on the passenger side, you got these 3 screws here. So these 10 mils, this little 7 mil. And we are going to have to get that guy right there. I think that's a 10 mil. And then in the middle, studs in there with 10 mils on them. And down here with 10 mils on them. Here's the tricky hidden one. That's why we pulled the cover off. I don't know if you can see it or not. Try to. So 10, there it is. 10 mil up here on the top that we got to get at.
This isn't the biggest bag over the head, punch in the face.
There's these guys on both sides. I believe there should be a couple up here, yep. And then these 3 over here. I think that's all of them, but there might be one more back there. Okay, there is a 10 mil bolt that comes in from the reverse side. I got my ratcheting wrench on here. We're just going to work that off. Okay, now obviously this is much better as a 2-person job, but there's only me, so I'm going to try to do what I can do. Pull it forward on this side a bit. Missing something here. Something's still attached. What was hanging up on me were these 2 little connectors, and they are in a pretty nasty little spot. They go in back here. But hey, we got them, and now we got access to what we were trying to get access to, which is this piece right here. All that for this. Yep. Okay. Yep. Well, let's continue on, and we'll get this guy off now. For now, I've just rolled our dash onto our front seats. It should be fine like that for a bit. And then if I get a hand, I can have someone help me take it out if I need to. Okay, I was able to use my little T20, reach in behind here, get these screws undone on both sides. Had to go in from the driver's side here, passenger side there. Got them undone. You can see a shot of the screws from the back side. Undid the little flapper door screw down here for the heater core, left it intact and slid it off sideways. So if you look at the other unit here, right there, you can see the little screw I'm talking about. Open up that flap. There's your heater core. But if you just slide this unit sideways, after you lift it out of its hooks, it'll pull off the heater core. So now we're going to go slide this one in place. Okay, once you have this unit back in, you're going to check both sides. You're going to check this gap here, make sure it's closed up nice, it seals up in there. Now that we've got that in there, we're going to put all our actuators and stuff back on it. It's easier to do it now than when we get the dash all back in here. So let's get the actuators in, and then we just have to worry about wiring them later. You can see on this side too where the seam is nice and sealed up, so we're good. Okay, when you get to the point of putting on these new gears, you can see that it's got a master keyway on it. And we look at its matching piece there. You can see that has a larger spot right there. They only really go together one way. What I find is you want this kind of centered like that. I put the gear on first, then I put the actuator on the gear, and it went on pretty easily. Now that one up there has 3 screws holding it on. This one only has the 2. And once we get these on, we're ready to start. I might have put that too tight. Whoopsies. once we get these on, we're pretty much ready to start putting the dash back together. So there you go, good. All right, we should have a working HVAC unit again. That would be wonderful. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put this duct back on. Because again, easier to put that on now than later. And I'll do the same thing with the duct on the other side. Second thought, I think I'm going to leave this one out for now. You can get this one in afterwards, and it makes it a lot easier to get that connector done up with that duct out. We're just going to take our dash and we're going to flip it back up into place. Like I said, you got two people, much better to do with this two people. Less chance of wrecking something, but one person, I'm using the front seats, we're just going to roll it back up, put it in place. You can do it! Okay, and you can see we just kind of rolled it back. Now we're going to start lifting it and putting it back where it's supposed to be. Alright, hopefully we don't get too many crunching sounds and stuff, but let's give this a shot. Okay. Try the passenger side a bit. There we go. Sliding into place. Yeah, we got our bolt holes lined up. It's connector free. That's good. Okay, we're going to start a couple bolts. This top one here. Just try to help hold it in place a bit. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. And we're going to make sure all the wiring is kind of where we want it. Make sure everything's kind of free still, nothing's trapped, anything like that. So the center part, we want to make sure these nuts are all lining up. The studs. Okay, we got the studs sticking through here. And my recommendation at this point is make sure you got all your wires hooked up. So we've got everything hooked up in here. Before we go and tighten everything down too much, start all your bolts and nuts loosely. And then that will make sure, because I actually did have some wires pinched in here, so I was glad I didn't have everything bolted down. It was easy to just pull it forward, move the wires, and we're good again. So not a big deal. So everything should fit in very nice. Don't go forcing anything. If it doesn't go, then there's probably something not aligned. So we've got all our wiring started. We'll do this antenna later. This one up here. Everything's looking pretty good. Everything's lining up, all the bolts are going in, all the nuts are going on, so I think we're in good shape here. Okay, remembered our two Cherokee bolts, the backwards facing one there, and the one up on the dash there. Next, I'm going to start putting the center console together a little bit. I'm going to start by putting our power tray back in here. Get that 7mm nut, and then that other object goes on there. I'm not really sure what that is. I could look it up and find out, but this guy goes on there after that's in place, and then the little blue connector connects to it. Okay, we got this area cleaned up. We got all our wiring back. We got this bolted back down. So let's get our center console back in. Okay, we're down to kind of the last step in the process here, and that's putting our steering wheel back in. Now remember what I said, this has the clock spring in it, so we want to be very careful. And we're going to try to align these splines. So we've got everything marked from when we took it out. Now this can be a little bit tricky. It's looking good. Guide this in here.
How about new?
Okay, I'm going to have to play with this for a little bit. Try to get the splines aligned, everything else. It's tricky. We don't want this to rotate too much or anything like that, but we will get it. Okay, if we look real carefully, you can see that this steering shaft has a master spline, so I've marked it. You can see it quite evidently on the steering shaft itself, and you can see it in the U-joint here. So we're going to line those two up and get it engaged. Okay, we got our spline started in here, and I want to point out something. You want to be very careful with this, because if you actually take a look at that, you're not fully engaged, and you could actually still get the bolt in at this point, and it would seem like it's right, but it's not. You need to get that all the way up to the top here. So we need to bring this up even further, so we can, and then get the bolt in it to trap it. That would not be good. You wouldn't actually be securing the steering shaft, and that could be a problem. For obvious reasons. One final tip about the steering shaft. Turn it so that that slot is down, then you can have a look up in there, and you can see in that groove, we got ours in locked position, so we're good. But that's a good way to check, is just turn that groove down so you can actually get up there and look. You can see we're locked. Okay, that connector in the steering column, that's a pain, but we got it. Okay, let's see if this was all worth it. All right. All right, we got cold air here, Cold air there. Nice and cold over here. Let's see, we're on low. Let's go hot over here. Well, that's hot air there. It's still cold over here. Nice. Let's do it the other way around. Just make sure that's cold still. Yep. Yep. Got hot air there. It's still cold over here. Nice. Let's hit sync. Over cold. Over hot. Back to cold. Very nice.
All right.
That's amazing. Both back to cold. All right, so that's all working. Let's make sure we've got defrost. There it is. Ah, there we go. Yeah, we got defrost up there. Very good. Floor. Back to vent. Okay, we got vents again. Off the vent, and we're on the floor. You can see the rag blowing down there. So everything's working. That is fantastic. We've resolved our issue. Let's wrap this up. Okay, the glove box liner. Got a couple Torx bits in here. We've got our screws down here. Remember our little light here. Remember that connector. Now that we get the liner back in, we can put our glove box back in. It just hooks in on the hooks there. We hook up our lanyard that helps it come down slowly, and we just push it back up and it'll put the tabs back in, and it should work normally now. There we go, dash back together. We put our fill panels back in on both sides. Remember, slide it in the groove, and then we're just pushing our seal back onto the, line it up, pushing it back in. There we go, it's all closed up. Everything's back together. Nice. It's just about time to put a pin in this video, but before we do, if you don't mind subscribing and ringing the bell so you know when the next videos are coming out, it'll be greatly appreciated. It allows us to keep bringing you content. So we got everything doing what we want it to do. We got heat, we got AC, we got passenger control, we got driver control. Everything's back in working how it should, and that's what this whole job was about. So at this point, I'd like to thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.